Okay, so we are going to start learning the Sikha in Parshas Kairach, Chelek Yud Gimel, which would be in page 51. What you have to know as an introduction to the Sikha is just the plain old events that took place in this week's Parsha, and that is that Kairach was a major troublemaker. He gathered together Dasan Va'aviram, and the pasuk goes on to say 250 leaders as part of his group, and they stood up and fought against Moshe. And of course, the challenge, Moshe made them have a public challenge, and Moshe was proven, with Hashem's help, he was proven victorious. And now the parsha, the discussion that we're going to have in the Sikha is what happens afterwards. Hashem says to Moshe, "Hibadlu mitoicha eda azois," move away from this bad group of people, because I want to take care of the whole bad group. And the Rebbe is going to discuss, based on the Rashi, are they all equal? In other words, if it starts off with Kairach, and it goes from Kairach to Dasan Vaviram, and then it goes to how they collected people to follow their lead, are they all considered the same level of crime? Because you'll find fascinating how the Rebbe is medayik from the wording of Rashi, how Rashi switches words depending on who he is referring to. And Rashi does this, even though he's quoting a medrash, Rashi changes the words of the medrash to interpret that in the pasuk. A very fascinating, it's actually a small sikha, but it gives us a tremendous outlook on tshuva, on life. All right, so we have Kairach, page 51. Ala kasuv, on the pasuk, vayipulu al pneim, that they fell on their face, they were praying. Matik Rashi quotes the words Keil Elekei Haruchis, where they daven to the Eibishter, and they say to the Eibishter, Keil Elekei Haruchis, which God, that's Keil Elekei Haruchis. What does that mean? Elekei Haruchis could mean either the God of all spirits, which is not what Rashi is going to interpret it. Rashi is going to interpret it the God of all knowledge, all machshavos, God that knows everything that goes through a person's mind. That's where Rashi is going to change it because of the flow of the psukim. Anyways, listen to where Rashi quotes the words Keil Elikei Aruchis, Umefarish, and Rashi explains that this is what they daven to Hashem. They say to Hashem, Yodeya machshavos, you are the one that knows everybody's thoughts. Ein midascha kemidas basav adam. You don't act the way a human person acts. Melech basav adam, a human king, shasarcha olav mikzas medina, if some of his people defouled on him, went against him, Eini yedeya mi hachaita. The king doesn't know, because there's many people together, he doesn't know who the sinner is. Lefichach, therefore, a melech basav adam, when he has that dilemma, many people rose up against him, kishehu kayes, when he gets angry, nifram mikulam, he has to pay everybody back. He doesn't know to pick on who is the main criminal. Avalata, but they daven to Hashem and they say, but you, Hashem, lefanecha gluyes kol machshavos, you are able to see, by you everything is revealed, you see everybody's thoughts. V'yedeya ata mi hachaite, and you know who the real sinner is. So what is Rashi adding from the interpreting or in the words of the pasuk? Explains the Rebbe, v'hinei b'pashtus, in simple words, kavanase Rashi, the intention of Rashi when he explains this is, l'dayik, Rashi wants to teach us, she'ein lefaresh elikei haruchos b'muvan shel neshamis. Don't interpret the words as I actually see in some of the English translations in the Chumash. They say Elikei Haruchos, the God of all spirits, which means, in other words, the God of all neshamas. That's not what Rashi is saying. Ela b'muvan shel machshavos. Not only, obviously, the Eibishter is the God of all neshamas. Over here, he, as part of their prayer, as part of the tefillah, why the Eibishter should not punish everybody, they're saying, Hashem, you are the Elikei machshavos. Elikim ha'yidei machshavos, you are God that knows that everybody thinks. And where do we find that ruchos is a reference that's applicable to machshava? We find it in the previous parsha. The pasuk says about the meraglim that some of the meraglim went and came back with a bad review and a bad intention. But the pasuk says, "Va'avdi Kalev." However, my slave Kalev, one of the two meraglim that came back with a positive report, Ekev hoisa ruach acheres imoi. The word is ruach. What does it mean over there? He had a different spirit, a different soul. No, it means that he had a different way of thinking. He approached his machshava, what he thought when he went as one of the meraglim, was different than everybody else. So over there we see shetevas ruach hanemaba, the word ruach that says by the meraglim, by Kalev, in yonei machshava. It means thought. So too, over here, Elekei Aruchis does not mean the God of all spirits, the God of all people. It means the God of who knows how to read minds. By him, everything is revealed. Why does Rashi have to insist to interpret it this way? Because if you don't interpret it this way, the pasuk doesn't flow. Why not? Rak lepirah, only if you interpret it this way, muvenas hashaychus shalascholas dibur elikei aruchos l'mashakasav la'achar zeh. Only if you interpret it this way, the statement that the davening makes sense. What is the opening statement? Elikei haruchos, and what are they requesting from Elikei haruchos? Ha'ish echad yechta v'alakola eda tiktsev. One person sins and you get angry at everybody? Meaning, since God is one who knows what everybody thinks, so you know who the sinner is. You, God, know who the sinner is. And to who to be angry on. So it's because you are the Elikei Machshavos. But if you interpret it that the pasuk over here means the God of all living things, why are you stressing that here? Just because you're the God of all the living things, that's why don't punish anybody. You're not explaining your point. Ain't a move on. It's not understood. Ma in yonei shel Elikei neshames. Why in this tefillah they stress they would have stressed that he's the God of all neshames kehakdama as an introduction to their tefillah l'mashakasav ha'ish echad yechta. Only if it means machshava, then it makes sense. You read, you're able to see everything, so you know who's the guilty one. Doesn't fit in to say Elikei Aruchos, meaning Elikei Neshamis. Therefore, Rashi goes on to explain, because you are one who is able to read everybody's mind, you don't act like a regular human. A human king can't tell the difference, so he punishes everybody. Aval ata, but you yoideya ata miu achaita. You know who the sinner is. V'hainu shelafi pirusha zeh shelikei aruchos. Because the way Rashi interprets, or the Medrash interprets what Elikei aruchos means, hainu yoideya machshavos, that he knows what everybody thinks. Muzbara hamshich bekasuv. Then it flows with the continuation, the wording in the pasuk. V'zehu ha'hechrach lepirushay. This must be the reason why Rashi is forced to interpret it that way, so the pasuk flows and makes more sense. However, the Rebbe has some questions in the way Rashi puts it. V'tzarich lahavin. Yet I have to understand. Aleph. Number one. Lama l'Rashi lahazbir hadavar. Why, when Rashi wants to explain this, that Hashem, you know who's guilty, why are you punishing everybody? That's fine. But why, when Rashi explains that, he has to add, you're not like a human king. A human king from flesh and blood doesn't have that quality. What does that add to the claim that you're praying to Hashem? What does Rashi want to add when he says, She'emi dascha kemidas basavadam, al yedei hamashal shel melech basavadam, by bringing how it's different, comparing it to a human king. Eza havara v'toises bir. What clarity will come into this explanation? Al yidei mashal zeh. Rashi is bringing this because only through this mashal, only through this parable, you could understand this better. What I don't understand, says the Rebbe, what is the extra thing that needs to be clarified, and you only understand it through this mashal. Beis, another question. Even if you'll tell me that only when I could understand it better when comparing it to a human king, how he makes his mistakes because he can't see, whatever. So there's something that could become more clear by bringing the mashal. And Rashi, that's the reason why Rashi brings it. Excuse me, this is not the first time that this concept could have been brought up. Says the Rebbe, you forgot in Parshas Vayera, over there Avram Avinu was negotiating with the Eibishter about Sdom. The Eibishter wanted to kill Sdom, turn over the whole Sdom, and Avram Avinu is negotiating. Let's say there's 50 tzedekим, let's say, the whole negotiation. And what was Avram Avinu's claim? It's not fair. Just because some people do a crime, you're going to turn over the whole city. And the whole negotiation. And when Avram Avinu says it to Eibishter, he says, we make those mistakes. But you know who's guilty. You could manage to kill to punish the ones who are wicked in Sdom, and the tzaddikim not. So when Avram Avinu made that claim, why wasn't this same mashal relevant there? Hashem, you're not like a basar v'adam. A basar v'adam doesn't see the guilty ones from the non-guilty, makes that mistake, but you are not. Why doesn't Rashi bring it there? Why doesn't Rashi bring this discussion, this parable, this mashal earlier in the Torah, in Parshas Vayera, B'tainus Avram Avinu, with the claims that Avram Avinu has, which is very similar to what Moshe Rabbeinu is davening here, Bin Yonenu, or B'meila Gam Sham Masim Lahavi Mashal Zeh. This mashal would have been appropriate to be brought in Avram Avinu's claim to the Eibishter. B'negayel time. What does Avram Avinu say? Haf tisbet tzaddik in Russia. Are you going to kill? Are you going to punish the righteous with the wicked? So over there, Rashi, if something gets clarified by adding the mashal, Rashi should have said it there too, and Rashi doesn't. Gimel, and then the Rebbe says a very practical thing. This mashal really is not fair. What are you saying? Melech basar v'adam kills. If a bunch of people go out and do something against him, he'll kill them all. That's not necessarily true. A person who's just, a melech basar v'adam who's just, who has compassion, he also doesn't just kill everybody. Before he goes on the killing rampage, he does investigation to find out who deserves the punishment. If he's only a mensch, he does that. He also tries to investigate. So you can't say a blanket statement, a melech basar v'adam just kills the bad, the evil, and the good together. Says the Rebbe Gimel, Harei melech basar v'adam, even a human king, if only he's ruling with just and fairness, Harei kishiyechta echad, when one person does the crime, lo yanish anashim rabim, he won't punish many people. What will he do? Ki'im sheyimna shofet, he'll appoint a judge, v'chulu, sheyachgar, v'yidrosh, v'yivarer, he'll investigate, he'll interrogate, he'll make sure, mi'achoyta, who is the sinner, who deserves the, if he's only a mensch, if he's not a killer, this is what he does. Even if it's in a situation where it's almost impossible to find out who is the ringleader. Still, even for a basar v'adam, you could ask the question. You, human king, because you couldn't figure out who committed the crime against you. Hashachata, the one person who sinned, Yanish Melech Yasher Hailech Eskulam, with a just king, a king that uses that punishes only with justice. You're telling me even a Melech Basar V'adam would just kill people because he couldn't figure out who the real killer is, the real criminal is? So the mashal doesn't even fit. Dalid. Now the next two, the Rebbe gets very technical in the wording. Says the Rebbe Pasach Rashi. If you look at the words of Rashi, Rashi says that when he brings this mashal, he says some of a bunch of people in his community, under his leadership, committed a crime. He doesn't know who it is, and he'll kill them all. But Rashi does not say committed a crime. Be careful, says the Rebbe. Rashi says, Pasach Rashi, B'loshen Sarcha. Rashi says people in the community, in the city, defouled him. Not a crime. Rashi doesn't say crime. Sarcha olav mixas medina. That's the opening statement. Umesayim, and the concluding statement, in the conclusion, Rashi says, but he didn't know mi hachoite, who the sinner is. Why does Rashi use two different expressions? Hey, a fifth question. Kain Mesayim Rashi. Rashi also finishes off this statement by saying, Eina yodeya mi hachoite. The Melech Basiv Adam doesn't know who the ringleader is, singular, who the sinner is. Udeloi kapsicha. It's not how we started the statement. In the beginning of the statement, it says, Shesarcha olav miktsas medina. Some people went against him. Some people is more than one. At the end, he says, but he doesn't know who's the one sinner, singular. Why are you switching from many committing something wrong to one? What's going on in this mashal? And why does Rashi bring this mashal? And how does this give us clarity on the taina that Moshe Rabbeinu has Hashem, the tefillah? Why are you killing out a whole group of people? Kairach v'adasei. Beis, says the Rebbe, the questions are not done. After this conversation, after this explanation of Rashi, there's a Rashi that goes right after it. And it seems to be one long connection, but Rashi felt to split it into two separate headlines. Achar kach maitik Rashi hateves ha'ish echad. Then Rashi quotes the two words of the pasuk where it says ha'ish echad, the one person. Umefaresh, and Rashi explains hu hachote. The one person is the sinner. Va'ata al kol ha'eda tiksef. And you are going to be angry at the whole community and the whole community. I mean, it seems to be that it's the same wording as the previous Rashi. So some Mefarshim, the Rebbe brings in the Ara, some Mefarshim want to say that ish achad chata. From the pasuk, it seems to be that one person sinned in the past. So Rashi is turning it into present. Hu achayte. But the Rebbe has issues with those interpretations. But this is what Rashi explains. One person sins, and you are angry at everybody. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Eibishter responds to Moshe Rabbeinu, says, you know what? Yafa Amarta. What you said is very good. Ani Yodeya, I know who the sinner is. Umaydiya Michat, I will let everybody know who the sinner is. Umi Loichat. And I will also let everybody know, because I know I read minds. I know who the troublemaker is, and I know who's just a bystander. Says the Rebbe, in this Rashi, I also don't understand what Rashi is saying here. Aleph, Mai Kavanas Rashi, what is Rashi intending to explain? Instead of the words of the pasuk, where the pasuk says one person commits a sin, Shenemar Bikra, Rashi switches it from Yechta to Kasav. He writes, Hu Achoite. He is the sinner. What is Rashi? Why is Rashi doing that? V'hoisif, and then Rashi adds, Tevas ve'ata al kol ha'eda tiksev. The ata al kol ha'eda tiksev is not a word. The ata is not a word in the pasuk. Harei lechaira ein bazeh kol toisvus bir b'kasiv. There is nothing extra that you understand because Rashi adds these 2 points. Beis, another question I have. If Rashi has some kind of a reason why Rashi wants to explain Mashakasiv Va'ish Echad Yechta V'gam Bal Kol Ha'eda Tiktzov, if Rashi feels that something new has to be explained, Havalei Lahatik Gam Tevis Elu Oyal Kopanim Leramzem B'V'goyma. Rashi, in his quote, in the opening statement where he quotes the words of the pasuk, should have quoted all these words from the pasuk, and even if he didn't want to quote all of them, at least write V'Goyma. V'Goyma means and the words onto it, if that's what you want to explain. It doesn't seem that Rashi is trying to explain those following words. Gimel, my kavanas Rashi, what does Rashi intend to explain? Rashi adds in the second part that there's a response from Hashem. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Yafa Amar, that what you said is correct. If somebody sinned, I'm going to announce who sinned. You say to Mizu, besides for this question, says the Rebbe, this thing that Hashem says, according to Rashi now, Hashem says you are right. And what? I'm going to show who the sinner is and who not the sinner is. Guess what? What did Hashem do? He killed them all. He says you're right, but then he turns around killing all 250. B'mayna l'tainas Moshe, when Hashem answers Moshe, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Hey olu misaviv l'mishkan kairach dasam v'aviram. Get away, stay away from the tent of kairach dasam v'aviram. V'akasuv mefarish ha'aynesh shehigia l'shlashtam. The Torah says a clear punishment that all three got. It wasn't a single punishment to kairach. He's punishing all three of them. Is al pizayin a move of Mashikasa Rashi. Then Rashi, a minute ago, what he said earlier, I don't understand. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yafar Mart. Hashem says what you said is correct. In other words, Hainu HaKadosh Baruch Hu maskim l'tainas Moshe. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu agrees with Moshe's claim. Ha'ish echad yechta. If one person sins, how should I punish everybody else? For HaKadosh Baruch Hu idea, the Eibishter himself says, Shloi echad chata. It wasn't only one. Ela shleisha. He says, get away from Dasam v'Aviram too. Hey, ani idea. Hashem says, I do know who's right, who's right, and who's guilty, who's not guilty. Those words I know are extra. Because really the main point is not that what Eibishter knows. Nobody's denying, nobody's chas v'shalom challenging what Hashem knows. Rak ba'ani idea. How the Eibishter acts out from what he knows. How does he punish based on what he knows? So what is it important to say? I know who's guilty, who's not. Ubefrat sharashi moisiv ze aloshna medrash yodeya. The medrash doesn't say those words. Rashi adds the word yodeya. Why did Rashi add those words? And besides all these questions that the Rebbe piled on these two Rashis, the Rebbe has a very practical question now. The general point, the general discussion here, there's a basic question. This is not the first time that the Yidden sinned. In the previous psukim, Niskar Kama Pamim, it's mentioned many times, that who was part of this machlokes, this argument, this dispute against Moshe v'Aaron. It wasn't only those two. It wasn't only Kairach. Hishtatvu anashim rabim. Many people joined them. As the pasuk says, v'yakumu v'anashim b'bnei Yisrael chamishim u'masayim. 250 leaders he somehow seduced to follow him. V'yikalu al Moshe v'Aaron. And then when Moshe tells them off, the pasuk says, u'Moshe diber al Kairach v'al kol hadasai. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he's rebuking them, he's not only talking to Kairach, because many people were with him. And Moshe Rabbeinu had to rebuke the whole community that was with him. Until Moshe Rabbeinu uses the words, you, Kairach, and your whole community who's standing up against Hashem. Rashi, and Rashi explains, this amongst the Yidden, what the people, the Yidden, the community, many people, this is the fourth flop that they did. Rashi lists all the sins that they're falling through. So what's the point? It's obvious from this discussion, it wasn't just one person who sinned. Moshe Rabbeinu says, one person sins, everybody gets punished. It wasn't one person. We know that Moshe didn't believe only one person sinned, because Moshe rebuked many people. How is it that Moshe says, one person sins and you're punishing all? So the Rebbe really piled on hard many questions on this Rashi to understand what was Moshe Rabbeinu's claim in his davening to try to save some people. Listen to this fascinating explanation for the Rebbe. Va'abir b'kol says the Rebbe, the explanation is like this. And let me give you a sneak preview of the words of the Rebbe is going to say. There is a big difference between Kairach, Dasam Vaviram, and the other 250 people. There's a ringleader, there's somebody that seduces people, and then there's the followers. Kairach is the ringleader. Kairach is the sinner. Everybody else got seduced to follow him. Uvechein, this is so fascinating how the Rebbe puts it in the words. Chayte, sinner, a criminal, a rebel, is only one. Kairach. Everybody else defiled. They fell into this mess. They didn't have that same heart to fight Hashem the way they were not the ringleaders. I mean, the Rebbe is going to say at the end, there's no excuse just to follow whatever anybody tells you. They are to blame too. But you cannot put them on the same league as a Kairach. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Chayte, sinner, is one. Everybody else was a follower. Let's see how the Rebbe says this. The Pirusha al Pasuk Vayakel Aleim Kairach. When Rashi explains the Pasuk, how Kairach gathered together people, Shelifnei Pasuk Zeh, which is before this pasuk where it speaks about the punishments. Kasav Rashi says, Halach Eitzel Shvatim, Kairach went around to all the Shvatim, Upita Isam, and he convinced them. He says, Kisaver, Kisvurim Atim Shalai Levadi Ani Makbid. You think I'm fighting for my honor? No! Ani Makbid Ele B'Shvul Kulchem. I'm fighting for all of you, your honor. I'm on your team. He was such a sweet talker, he got them all wrapped into his way of thinking. Hainu, in other words, says the Rebbe, Shekairach hu ashapitas anshe eda. Kairach was the one that convinced all the people of the community. They were fine. Umashcham b'dvarav. He brought them in with sweet words. Shumaskaven l'tevasim. That he's doing this for their good. Ad until he was able to get them involved also in complaining against Moshe and Aaron. This is not only for the other 250, this is even the two right under him. Even Dasam Vaviram. Dasam Vaviram would have passed without him and would have not been such a fight against Moshe Rabbeinu. You'll find that it's something happened that made them become who they are so negative. Even the leaders, Shehem Dasam Vavirim, Va'anashim Ibnei Yisrael Chamishim Masayim, and the 250 people of the leaders, why did they fall? There was a reason. Rashi says, B'shvil Shaya Shevet Reuven, since the Shevet of Reuven, which Dasam Va'aviram comes from Shevet Reuven. And the majority of the Reish, Nu, and Ish, the majority of the 250 people came from Shevet Reuven. So what's the significance of Shevet Reuven? Because Shevet Reuven camped Sharui Shacheng the Kahasu Banov. They camped close to the tent, to the camping of Kahas. And Kairach comes from Kahas. So because the ringleader was close as a neighbor, close to these people in Reuven, that's what got them involved with Kairach. In other words, they were influenced by the outside influence. The fact they joined this argument wasn't on their own. This all came about. Kairach convinced them. Until they were convinced, hey, he's talking sense. They themselves, if not for the convincing of Kairach, They would never fight against Moshe Rabbeinu. Says the Rebbe in the brackets, a very important lesson. And even though it is a definite, no person can ever use this excuse. I'm not guilty. Don't blame me for doing something wrong. Why not? That person convinced me. If you commit a crime and you're saying, oh, it's not my fault, that person convinced me, that's not an excuse. We know that the Mishnah says a person should not put himself in a position to be able to be convinced from a Russia. Stay away from these people. And if you happen to live near Russia, you have to stand strong. You shouldn't let yourself be convinced from these type of people. Nevertheless, even though a person is not completely clean, if he does bad by being convinced, the bottom line, you can't compare these people to a kairach. The bottom line, what made them fight was the convincing of kairach. Kairach was the one that got them instigated. Vizui kavanas Rashi. Now everything makes sense. This is what Rashi brings, the mashal, the parable. What is the story? What is Rashi? How does Rashi word this mashal? Melech basav Adam, there's a king. Shesarcha olav mikzas medina. Some of his community defiled him. Defiled him does not mean they rebelled and fought him and overturned his throne. No. They just did something not nice against him. Hainu, L'dayak, Rashi is very precise. Shanagosam hoisa srucha. Their behavior, in Yiddish you would say, was verstunken, didn't smell good. All it is, it's just not a proper thing, not a proper behavior. But oifen hamos eitzel hamelech. It's disgusting to behave that way under a certain king's leadership. That's the word sarcha. We're not talking about people who intentionally wanted to rebel against the king. Ubefrat, and especially to rebel in such a way, you rebel against the king in a head-on way, it's a death punishment, a death sentence. Nobody in the community did it in that way. They only did something spasnish, sarcha olav. Nevertheless, upon him, since the bottom line is the Melech sees that a lot of people in his community are not doing the right thing. They're not sinning, but they're not behaving properly. What's happening? Why are they behaving that way? Hare mistaber, so it only makes sense that's what switched. Sheyesh beineim mishu, amongst that group of who changed their way they're behaving, there is somebody, echad lepachis, at least one person, shehi sisam, that's convincing them, that's seducing them, v'haviyam lidaisirachin zeh, and brought them to change their way they're behaving, that they're not behaving properly. Ubazeh gufa, and in that sense, harehu choyte mamish b'merida negen hamelech. The person going around, he's a sinner. His intention is not to have a good time. His intention is directly to hit the melech. So Zeu shekasav Rashi, this is what Rashi says, Ve'ena yodeya mihu hachoyte. A melech basav adam, when people misbehave, he doesn't know who the ringleader is. Hainu, he doesn't, because the ringleader is the sinner. Everybody else is just defouling. So he doesn't know who the sinner is. Hainu hamesis v'hagiroyin hagoydem lasirachin. Mashengen amshek mixas medina. However, the people in the community, Rashi doesn't refer to them as sinners. There's something doesn't smell right. They're just not behaving properly, but they're not intending to fight the melech. Therefore, how does a human king react to this? When something is not going proper under his leadership and he can't find who the ringleader is, the melech basim adam, the kivan she'eni yadei amiyo achoytei, since he doesn't know who the sinner is, harehu nifra mikulam. He is forced to pay everybody, punish everybody. Why? Because bottom line, hare bepoyo sorchu olav kulam. The bottom line is everybody misbehaved. Everybody misbehaved, maybe not with the same intention, but the fact is they all misbehaved, they deserve the punishment. Avol ata, but you Hashem, lefanecha gluyas kol hamachshavos. You know the thoughts. There is a difference between a misbehavior and a sinner. V'yedei ata mi achaitei. V'im came to you, Hashem, lo yitochen shay. It's not fear. She'ela sherak sarchu. It's not fear to bundle together the ones who just misbehaved, just don't smell right. Ye anshu should get punished, but they should get punished the same way as the sinner. It's a different league completely. This claim that Moshe Rabbeinu has, Rashi explains it again and better. And he explains it on the words of the pasuk. Ha'ish echad hu achaitei. One person is the sinner, and everybody else just is sarchu. Va'ata, and you, the one who knows how to read the minds, al kol ha'eda tiktsev. You're going to be angry at everybody? Bit me. I'm shocked. So when Moshe Rabbeinu says this to Hashem, in response to the claim that Moshe Rabbeinu says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Yafar Marta, what you said was correct. What is Hashem saying when he says you're correct? On the general claim that Moshe Rabbeinu says, it only makes sense to punish the sinner, and not the ones that unintentionally, or just, they had no intention to hurt you, Hashem. They just got wrapped in. It's not fair to get punished the same level. You're right. El ulam, however, benegay al leprat, however, comparing, however, benegay in connection to the details of what the event really happened, ein adavar Moshe Yedeya. It's not how Moshe thought. V'savar. Moshe, you only thought shahaya chayte echad. You only thought that it's only one guy that was a ringleader. That's not true. Because I am what I am, I know what's behind it all. I know. Umaydiya michat. I will show you who actually is part of the sinners. Shaloi kairach bilvad chata. It wasn't only kairach. Elagam dasam va'aviram chatu. You could put together kairach and dasam va'aviram in the same league. Masha'en and shara eda. However, the rest of the community, you're right, they are sarchu. They did not sin. And that's why the pasuk says, you think it's one ringleader. I am telling you, and one sinner. I'm telling you, halu misaviv lemishkan, not kairach. Don't get only away from kairach. Get away from kairach, dasam va'aviram. Ki shlashtam chaytim heim. Because the three of them were all sinners. Beautiful explanation. Says the Rebbe, the lesson that we can learn in the way we serve Hashem. Mipirish Rashi zeh from this Rashi, b'pnimis ha'ayanim in Chassidus. The Supa b'Pasha. Now, Kairach was a big troublemaker. Dasan Vavirim, we just decided, is on the same league as Kairach. If they were rebels at the level of Kairach, you could learn a tremendous lesson from how Moshe Rabbeinu treated them. When Moshe Rabbeinu sees that they're standing up against him, against the Eibishter, Moshe Rabbeinu should have gone all out to fight them. Moshe Rabbeinu gave him chance after chance. He sent messengers to speak to them. Now we know now that they are chaytim. Yet Moshe Rabbeinu keeps on giving chances. Mesupa b'parsha, it's explained in the parsha. Shalach Moshe likra l'dasim v'aviram. Moshe sent shluchim to call dasim v'aviram. V'heimi and olavoi. They didn't want to come. For anu ba'azis gedayla, and they responded to the shliach that came with tremendous chutzpah. Moshe was sending messages. Isn't it good enough that he took us out of Mitzrayim and brought us to die in the Midbar? You're going to poke out these people's eyes, and it's very chutzpahdik against Moshe. Until it really got Moshe angry what they said. This all teaches us from their response to the shliach of Moshe Rabbeinu. You could see again and again that their part of the machlokes. You can't say that they were like the other 200 people. They didn't just follow. They were real ringleaders. They were here to the spite, to rebel. And despite all that, the Moshe Rabbeinu knows who he was dealing with. Dana Moshe Rabbeinu l'kav schus. Moshe still gave him the benefit of the doubt. And the Moshe Rabbeinu, when he dies, still says, when he davens, he still says, Ha'ish echad yechta. Moshe Rabbeinu is still davening for them and says, Kairach is the ringleader and not Dasim Vaviram. You can't even compare those. Moshe Rabbeinu knows that they were what they had against him. From this, the lesson we have. How much does each one of us have to act something like Moshe? Why? How can you expect me to act like Moshe? Because we each have a little Moshe in us. Lifoil, to affect, to work. To plant in each one of us this midah. To always judge your friend favorably. And so much. And even if your friend is behaving in a way that there's no way that you should defend him, like Dasim Va'aviram, because nevertheless, all of lahapich b'schusa, you should still try to find some of his goodness. Good. And as an outcome of this, you should do whatever is within your powers to bring him back and put him on the right path.